Alright, hello everyone. It's Mr. Punkpush from Heavy Bound, and it's no secret that we here at High love some competitive COD. I mean, if you can figure that out after 6.5 COD-focused SOAT seasons and multiple references / conversations about the CWL and CDL in videos that aren't even COD related, then you may just be a modern day IW fan. But if you were to watch the hours upon hours of ranked play footage all across our channel, you'd probably notice two things. One, we lose a lot, and two, me and Joel have clearly defined roles whenever we play comp. Even when more people join us, we always stick to the same game plans. I like submachine guns and running at objectives, which is professionally called being an entry sub, but I wouldn't classify my gameplay as anything other than a first blood treadmill. And he's a main AR / flex, mainly due to the fact that he has to constantly pick up the slack for our randos and I in ranked. But these past few CODs have made me really rethink the idea of roles in Call of Duty. With the last few releases, having multiple comp maps with 3 to 4 AR setups reigns supreme. And I mean, there's always been people in the scene that don't put a lot of weight behind set roles for players. 100 Thieves, for example, got a lot of flack in the BO4 preseason because they signed 2 main ARs on their team, Octane and Slasher. And yet they still ended that year with 2 chips and the privilege of being the first victims of the Tiny Terror's burgeoning competitive rank. RIP. So do roles really matter in a game that historically doesn't have the depth of other competitive shooters? Would I be better off listening to my fellow Silver teammates saying I should get off the sub on Red Card or Vault? I'll be putting that to the test in today's episode of Rapid Hit. For this one, I'll be playing 25 matches using only a sub and 25 matches using only an AR. In what has become my favorite little tradition for these rapid hits, in the background I'll be tracking the win-loss and the positive to negative KD games for both sets of 25. But I won't be showing that until the end of each batch. I'll also be keeping track of how many times I play each game mode to help try and fight / prove the Control 24/7 allegations that always plague COD Twitter / Reddit. And like always, every match will be shown, whether that be showing off good plays, things I wanted to specifically point out that I did right / wrong, or just a scoreboard and a small showcase of me getting shit on. Anyways, now that all the explanations are over, let's get high COD video number 10 billion started. This is Rapid Hit Black Ops 6 rank play. So, going into Game 1, there's already a little bit of a hang-up for the beginning of this project. For the entire month of February in 2025, I had been playing at least 2 games a night of ranked to force myself to play more. This game is about 2 weeks into that. And you may be wondering, okay then, where are all those matches? Well, basically, I'm a fucking idiot. Since I did those matches on stream and my stream quality is lower than my recording, I thought it would be better to just record for this project. So, days went by and I just kept playing them on stream. Eventually, I got off my lazy ass and started recording my matches offline. You've caught me at Gold 3 and on a 5-game win streak. And as you can see, the games are going great so far. Jokes aside, I do end up recovering and going on a little streak just for the enemy team to take and hold a pretty significant lead. But they say that all comebacks begin with a single break, and this probably would have been it if I didn't choke. Luckily, my team was there to bail me out. Very slowly, we begin to crawl our way back. Despite me taking out more teammates and enemies, we continue to climb our way out of the hole we made earlier in the match. And thanks to maximizing rotation / holds and minimizing more team killing, we managed to pull off the dub. Moving on to Game 2, this match actually had some pretty big stakes, all things considered. Thanks to that last win and some crude napkin math, I was pretty positive this was my rank up game to plat. And to make sure I really jinxed my chances here, I also told my team that. Despite my jinxes and nerves, we had a pretty strong start to the hardpoint, even if we ended up fumbling that lead over the next hill and a half. I helped try and regain control with a nice P4 hill break. About midway through the game, I see we have a pretty healthy lead, so I decided to feed my ego a little bit and clean up on Old Hill. Instant regret hits a mock speed zone when I not only do a terrible job at reading where the enemies are coming from, but also at reacting to my teammates losing the hill. To keep the good times rolling, I also get COD timing out of our winning hill. By the end of the hardpoint, it all came down to Bar Hill. I'm not gonna lie, this was honestly one of the most stressful 33 seconds in the history of COD for me. They were holding it down like it was COD champs. I was running in and dying every time. It felt like a total collapse. Luckily though, one of my teammates had the genius idea of not running in without looking and was able to win the match for us. I gave them some well-deserved / slightly excessive gas and waited at the main menu to finally earn what I've been casually grinding for since Modern Warfare 22. Okay. I knew that Jinx had to kick it eventually. With the dreams of that green emblem dashed, I came into this match more deflated than usual.
Alright, you guys with the SMGs better pop off. I'll try watch your spawns and angles.
I probably won't, TBH.
But luckily my team was reviving enough that I could at least slightly regain. I start out the game with a sneaky little flank, only to be killed from where else? Top part. Jumping a little further into this match, the score is basically even, and I do the only thing subs can really do on Bolt. Constantly flank. While this P3 break is slightly more successful than the first, all it really does is allow a spawn flip and an early rotation to next. Actually, it turns out early rotations don't mean shit when your team is vacationing in Guam instead of watching the hill. I spawn out and on my way back into the hill, get a little ahead of myself and fumble an extremely easy gunfight for hill control. With the fate of my rank up being decided on this last hill, I lock in, shit on this guy laying prone on point, and secure one more kill for the dub and finally, the plat rank. I know it's not some high rank like Crim Iridescent or top 250, but I've been doubting my COD skills since the Gems of War system in Cold War kept me hardstick advanced, and it felt good to prove myself that I'm not as garbage as I feel like I am. Top 70% baby! Going into Game 4 we have a couple of firsts. The obvious one being this is my first game as a certified platinum player, but more importantly it's also the first game at S&D for this test, and our first time on a new, at the time, comp map. I believe when I recorded this, dealership was still in the testing phase and not officially added, so for once in my life I kind of felt confident going into an S&D. Like maybe I could ride the Chaos Wave to some free SR. And as you can see, it's going great so far. You'd think with a start like that we'd be looking at a hot 6-0, but fortunately for me, my non-AFK teammates clutched up. After those first 2 rounds, I reset my expectations and played this map like every other S&D map. My patience partially paid off in the form of a stun-assisted 2-piece, but we couldn't convert that into an actual round win. Going a little further, I'd like to formally introduce you to the only reason why this map is so hated. I think environmental hazards are a cool concept, but not only having an entire bomb site be surrounded by a minefield, but also having them respawn every round took this map from a solid 6 out of 10 to a 4 in my eyes. Thanks to that shoddily made piece of Avalon engineering, we're down by 2 going into this round. And after a small tussle on A, we get life advantage and bomb down. Now we wait. It took the enemy a while to hit, but once they did, I was left in a 1v1 and actually managed to clutch up while moving like Shotzi with carpal tunnel. One round later, my teammate clutches up and ties the score. With the momentum on our side, we take the next 2 rounds pretty convincingly, with my only contributions being an RCXC joyride and a final kill. Going into round 9, I'd like to now introduce one of the reasons why I love this map so much. Event warfare. I don't know why, but my absolute favorite thing is just watching these events and destroying people who think they're being sneaky. Thanks to that and some goated teammates, we end up securing the dub. We got a rough one coming up next. This map mode combination was one of my biggest fears for this challenge, especially in the subsection. But this would be a pretty useless video if I only played Skyline in the subsection and Volt/Red Card in the AR section, right? It was a pretty boring first round due to the nature of defense on Volt, but going into round 2, I had a pretty alright start, just to squander it in a 1v4 on B. I tried to keep our team alive, including an incredibly nasty turn on, but it seems like my team is already throwing in the towel. As we continue to get completely shit on for another round, I want to reiterate that I think the problem with Control was never the game mode, but the maps and the players around it. I'm excited for Overload and enjoy the mode personally, but I just want to see some justice for Control. Coming off my soapbox real quick, I gave up trying to capture B alone and go on a little spree to help get A instead. Looking at the life count, I realize this is extremely winnable. Once I get taken out to someone top bar for the 10 billionth time, I rub my only 2 brain cells together and decide to do what all sub players do best. Blank. I go all the way around apartments, clean up top bar, and squad wipe the rest of the team. Once we win that round, I let the 4-piece get the best of me and try to hype up my team who, mentally quit 2 rounds ago. We loaded on round 5 and I'm smiling ear to ear. Bolt defense? How do you lose a Bolt defense? I get first blood and I'm thinking, we got this. But we so did not have it. That loss also ends my 9-game win streak, a streak I will never come close to through the rest of the Black Ops 6 season. The only solace I can take away from this game is a positive KD and no hits in my SR since I just ranked up. Still though, what a heartbreaker. New session, new me. Even though I wouldn't classify Protocol as a sub-map in this game, I think Hardpoint on it is one of my favorite map mode combinations in Black Ops 6. It definitely helps that we had an 11-3 win loss on it before it got taken out, but I digress. I think Game 6 is a case study in why I enjoy it so much. Starting right off the rip with a 2-piece on Hill to take the early lead. Jumping ahead a little, we remain thoroughly in control this match. I figure if the rest of my team is soaking, I could early rotate and catch someone from the other team doing the same. As you can tell from the scoreline, this wasn't exactly a close match. We had early rotations every hill, and even in the few times we didn't, it was an easy break every time. Thanks to my team, we continue our winning record on Protocol for 1 more game. We return to the dealership for yet another match, but this time it's on Control. At this point in the rapid hit, we are 1-0 on dealership, so can we keep the streak going? Based on this start, absolutely not. That spot was genuinely the bane of my existence on this map for the entire year, and one of my favorite things about Black Ops 7 is the fact that this spot and this map does not exist. Recovering from that, I have a pretty mixy fight on A but managed to cap it, eventually securing the round, with no help from me on B. The final moments of round 2 end on B, with both sides out of lives, and in typical Punkwist S&D fashion, I choke a pretty easy kill to lose the round. Moving on to the next round. How about we skip this one actually? Is round 3 any better? Well, if you consider being down 3v4 because our Blueberry gave up, then you have a weird definition of better. As the SR slips through my fingers, I get 1 more 2-piece thanks to them lining up. Could we have potentially won that game if our teammate didn't rage quit after 1 bad round? Guess we'll never know. Back to dealership control for game 8 because apparently I haven't been punished enough. It even starts pretty similar to the last game, with a slightly scuffed 2-piece on A. We hit the end of this round and I get taken out thanks to a problem I've had since 2010. I never look at the minimap in tense situations. Maybe I'll point this out every time it happens from now on, but I think this one was one of the worst cases. Like the road was clearly on the other side of the minimap the whole time, the kill feed was all the other team, and nobody pushed that lane the entirety of the last half of that round. Literally 0 game sense for me. Thankfully, we end up winning that round because my teammates aren't as brainless as me. Round 2 starts with a mixy little gunfight in his closet, and a double off people rotating out of A. That's about it though, as we lose this round in quick fashion. The COD gods seemed to be turning on me mid-game, because this next round was tragic, starting with a team kill thanks to my trophy blowing up a car, and a stupid suicide because I felt like I needed to do more since I just killed my teammate. I start to bounce back a little, killing a rat on A, and proving the haters right that the Jackal really was a god gun, which helps me and my team secure the round. This potential final round is a roller coaster. It starts with us losing A pretty quickly, but in return we slay out and take a hearty life lead. Up 16-9 in lives, with a capture point that's pretty easy to defend. Easier than A, I think. I proceed to lose all my gunfights and send us to a round 5. Completely unforgivable gameplay for myself. I'm no scump, so I'm not expecting myself to hard carry any match, but if 3 of those gunfights go differently, we win. Fast forwarding through a pretty mid-final round, I get 2 kills on A and help secure the first control win of the rapid hit. We got another S&D on our hands here. And unlike last time, I can't vibe my way through this one because it's not a new map. It might not actually be as bad as I was thinking, however. The first round starts extremely strong with me desperately trying to chase down my teammates with bomb while taking out half the team. We lose the next round pretty quickly, but going into round 3, I kind of take over. I admit during a lot of ring play SDs, especially solo, I kind of just run at people because either I'll win the gunfight or they will, and the game will end faster. Personally, I always expect the latter, but for some reason in these first 2 rounds, the strategy was working perfectly for me. We take the 3-1 edge, so I decided to go on a little joyride and get what I think is my only RC kill, the rapid hit. I won't lie, at this point in the game, I thought it was over. Like, sure, we lose that next round, but I'm so running at people and winning, so surely we can get 3 more rounds. The round after that was a bust, due completely to me just W-king an enemy again. The one after that was more fountain shenanigans into another loss. And the round after that we lose because I break the one rule I try to stick to when it comes to S&D. Play the 50-50. If you don't know where the enemy is, and bomb hasn't gone down yet, just wait at one site, since it's way better to try and retake or catch them off guard if you predicted correctly, than to just run in and hope for COD timing. Shout out Mr. DeLuca. That loss puts them at game point. For my hubris in the beginning of this game, I get the privilege of viewing the ranked kids mating dance, and a hit to my SR. Because the map voting system is great in ranked, we run it back on Hacienda for game 10. Redemption time? No. Ignoring the ass beating that was those first 2 rounds, I show some good trigger discipline, destroy this rat's camera, and get an extremely sketchy kill to secure our first round. By round 5, we managed to tie it up, and feeling a little cocky, ranked kids never check bomb, I try to go for the ninja defuse. It turns out exactly how you'd expect. A couple rounds later, I get another RC and gain some valuable knowledge before slamming into a wall and blowing up. This is only partly accurate to my real life driving skills. The real gift of rapid hits are found in games like these. Games where I basically do nothing of value, yet still have to find a way to talk about them. If I had to give my future self advice, like I'd even listen, it's always just to slow down. You are not and never will be him. We finally made it back to the respawns after those 2 terrible S&Ds. And as we start, the vibes are high and the gameplay is even higher. With the score neck and neck, 2 enemies run into me and give me one of the easiest 2 pieces of my life. With us barely squeaking out a lead, I early rotate and hold down the hill. Imagine if I got the last guy though. Things predictably begin to crumble, however, as I run into either the rattiest rat to ever rat, or a Michael Condry 1 in 100 spawn. We're still in the lead, but I proceed to make one of the worst trophy throws ever of all time to give the enemy an easy 2-piece and destroy my own trophy. Fast forwarding a little bit, we're hitting the business end of this hardpoint. We get set up in P3, and I have another example of zero awareness. I'll give myself a little leeway this time. It's not like the minimap was flashing that direction, and my team was all fighting the way I was looking, so being ready that way wasn't horrible, but I should have known by now that ranked is full of people who only know how to flank. So once I saw that my team had that direction under control, I should have moved. Once we lost that hill and the rotation to the next, it was shocked. All I had to keep me warm was encouraging words from my teammate.
Niggas are dog shit, bruh.
For game 12, we're back in S&D, only this time we're on Skyline, aka Bang Out Central. As someone with an extremely low S&D IQ, I loved Skyline during the Black Ops 6 season, even if I was 2-6 on it overall. While waiting for the round to start, I got bullied by my teammates for not using a mic. Which, to be fair, they are right, I should be. But I prefer my ranked games to be as corpo as possible. Play the game, type GG at the end of the match, clock out. Is that mindset why I'll forever be second plat? Most likely, but what can you do? Either way, I redeem myself for no comms by pulling off a 1v2 clutch in the first round, with some extra gas as well.
Let's go, Pun Chris. Yes, sir, boy.
Crazy the type of stuff you can pull off when you're not just running into everybody. The vibes continue to rise in round 4 as I clutch up yet again. But would it be a game of ranked S&D if everything didn't crumble in the end? We're up 2 rounds and I'm put into yet another 1vx situation. I try my best but can't pull another clutch out of my ass. With that loss and them getting closer to catching up to us, the vibes begin to sour. Until it's all tied up and people on my team are chalking it. As expected, everyone's mental is too fragile and we choke a 4-2 lead to lose the game. I should have just plugged out my mic, man. Back where I belong, in the respawns. We get our second instance of a new map. Now I think I'm in the minority here, but I'd just like to say, as the other team rage quits less than 30 seconds into the game, that bounty hardpoint was a great map mode combination, and I wish it stuck around in ranked / made it to the official rotation. Anyways, once one person left, I kind of zoned out of this game. Not to say I did nothing. I still popped 2 pieces on point, ran cheesy flanks, and hit the hill to secure some easy SR. I'm honestly sad this was the only time bounty hardpoint will appear in this rapid hit though, spoilers, as it doesn't really show why I like this map / mode combo so much, but hopefully some of these clips made my case. Sticking with hardpoint, we return to Hacienda, and to be honest, there's not much to talk about with this game. There are some semi-notable moments like this extremely toxic 2-piece, and a pretty nice / random hill break, but we were losing pretty thoroughly throughout this whole game. One thing I do want to point out, mainly because I rarely do it, is this ratty double kill to win the rotation. I'm frankly just proud of myself for not shooting the second I saw a person, especially because I'm sure I was tilted as hell in this game. I end this total ass whooping with the consolation prize of an insane kill off the P2 car head glitch. Honestly, maybe the Jackal was a god gun. Similarly to the last game, this was also not a very notable game, only for the complete opposite reason, which is kind of crazy looking back because we were going into Skyline Hardpoint, a map that in my experience is almost always a blowout. We were also up against a 3-stack, so all things considered, this should probably have just been a repeat of game 14. But with a 39-point lead, I was dipping and diving around the hill so much that Sika had to take a week off from work to mentally recover. I don't know if it was leftover till from last game helping me lock in or what, but my Jackal just felt good in my hands this game. And it all coalesced with one final hill break for the win. If any map deserves to be brought back from Black Ops 6 in my eyes, it's Skyline. Without a doubt, one of the most fun hardpoint maps in this game. We are thankfully continuing the respawn streak with another hardpoint for game 16, this time on Vault. And it starts off pretty swell. I got one of the weirdest 2 pieces of my career. One simple slide was all it took for them to line up for me. Shout out accuracy. Throughout the next 2 hills, we get a pretty comfortable lead that only grows bigger going into P3. Of course though, in typical rank play fashion, either through me taking my foot off the gas or the other team heating up, they begin to come back. Skipping to the end of this game, we obviously lose. One thing I wanted to point out that was really nice was how chill my team was about losing. They were calming basically the entire game, but at the end when they knew it was over, they just said a simple,
That's game.
That's the game.
it was weirdly refreshing. Second verse, same as the first, a little more vault and a lot more search. If you can tell by that terrible slant rhyme, we're sticking with the vault for game 17. Only this time it's S&D flavored. I've been bringing up my map count win losses for the year throughout this rapid hit, mainly because it gives me a reason to use all the data I've saved up over the BO6 season, but also because I think it gives a good idea of my mindset going into certain map mode combinations. And this one I remember so vividly because it was the only map on the year at that point where I was winless. So going into every Vault S&D, I was already mentally preparing to add to that loss streak. However, once we got into this game and I actually won my first gunfight, I thought there might just be a chance. And then I got shit on 3 rounds later and realized it wasn't going to be any different. Jokes aside, like a lot of ranked S&D, this game was won more by my teammates just being in the right spots and me popping off. Like this ninja defuse couldn't have happened if the enemy wasn't distracted by the RC and my blueberry fighting mid. And even though my ranked teammates were a little yappy to put it nicely, we still made it to map point in comfortable fashion. If my grandkids ever ask me, Papa, what was Vault S&D like in Black Ops 6? I'll simply just link this video at the timestamp into my family Discord. Or brain meld, or smoke signal, or whatever fucking technology we're using by that point. Despite that clusterfuck of a final round, we get the dub, and I congratulate my team on a well-played game. Oceanic Control graces us with its presence for the first, and definitely not last, time in this rapid hit, and we're off to the races right from the start. We barely win round 1 thanks to life advantage and a passive enemy team. In round 2, I get to experience the joys of ratting, and while I could just cut to the action moment, I think now's a good time to bring up the fact that if Prone was taken out of COD, nothing of value would be lost. The series would be in an infinitely better state MP-wise, drop shotting would be dead, ratting plays like this would be massively harder, and sneaking could potentially be fixed, or at least slightly less buggy. Not saying anything, not, petitioning for anything, just sort of thinking out loud here. We're reaching the end of what should be the final round for this control match, so I get a little cocky. There had been someone camping in that corner for a good portion of the round, so I tried to do a 400 IQ outplay and ended up showing my whole ass to the enemy in the opposite corner. We ended up losing the round shortly after. Yes, we also blow a 13-5 life lead, and no, I don't want to talk about it. Any chokes by our team were drowned out by the sounds of victory the next round, so it didn't really matter anyways. Back to my happy place, Skyline Hardpoint. We have quite possibly the best game so far this rapid hit. Starting off with me slaying out of P1 by killing the only 2 people on the other team actually hitting point. Moving on to P2, we not only have a surprisingly synchronized hill break, but also just more kills on the hill. They were either standing still or running into my bullets this game. I felt unkillable. This cockiness led to some stupid plays like me panic throwing this nade and killing my team. But even with misplays like that, our team was too well oiled to lose any hill time. When I say my ego is in the stratosphere for this game, I mean it. Like I know the Jackal could get that kill in the hands of a better player, but I've never been that guy, so I don't know what I was thinking. Alright. Enough jerking myself off. We break the hill yet again, and cruise over the course of the next 2 hills for the dub. I fucking love Skyline Hardpoint. Do not adjust your televisions. This is not a mistake. We are back on Vault Hardpoint for game 20. I hope you enjoyed your 2-game break from this god-awful map. By this game, I was about 3 weeks into my ranked February experiment, which was playing 2 games ranked a day for the entire month, and I think it was starting to help me play better. But a bad side effect was that because I was playing so much, I felt like I always needed to be moving, leading to this cracked out style of gameplay when I could have just been holding irons watching an angle. I get caught timing out of control from P3, and after a rough hill, just decide to flank behind P4 and get spawns. For once it works out, even if we have no control of the actual hill. But that's something that's easily fixable with some teammate help. Jumping to rotation 2, here's a play I made that was simultaneously great and terrible in my opinion. So I flank behind the hill and purposely choose to take the guy out on top balcony rather than focus on the hill, which I think was the right choice. The problem was that I got too impatient to wait for my teammates, so I saw they were too far away, and just ran at the hill to try and get time. I died, giving them back balcony control and continuing hill time. It was a clusterfuck of a play that I probably could have salvaged if I just slowed down, which is a major problem I have in COD, and it helped them push their lead even further until the end, where I was fighting for my life trying to stop the inevitable. A valuable lesson I learned that day that I won't take into any of these next matches because I finished all the gameplay 8 months ago. Yay. Protocol S&D is where we ended up for the next game. Not too excited, but like I've been saying, it'd be a pretty crappy test if we only played Skyline Hardpoint. Falling in line with the last few S&Ds, I have a pretty good start to the game, shooting 2 enemies in the back to win the round. I'm not going to mention how shitty my positioning was for those kills, but I'm just bringing it up for posterity. I was lucky enough to have a very trolly team, which makes any match much easier to stomach. Like, I honestly think I play better personally when my team isn't taking the game too seriously. Because just 4 rounds after that first 1v2, I get a technical 1v3, or 1v2 if you want to split hairs, to win another round. Based on the first half of this game, if I were to fast forward 4 or so rounds, what do you think the scoreline would be? Because if you said going into a round 11 because I team killed and died in the open, you'd be a goddamn prophet. With all the air sucked out of our team, we fall apart and lose a 1v3 in the final round. Yeah, truly hate to see it. Game 22 was fucking terrible for me. It was the first game in the series where I was just completely in the blender. I have exactly 1 passable clip, and it's this mediocre P4 hill break. The rest of this match consisted of bad ego chows, streak favoritism, and insane spawns / never ending flanks. Seriously, I might have been the unluckiest player in this lobby. I don't usually point out the KD, but I think it's a genuine miracle that I only ended this match -10. If I was going to have a shitter of a match, it was going to be on Volt though, so at least I kind of expected it. And speaking of Volt, we're back on Volt hardpoint for the very next game. Lucky me. 4 hills in again and I'm gifted 2 easy kills. Something I've also slowly been doing more of during these games is shaking off the hill bitch shackles. Don't get me wrong, if no one's hopping on time, I'll start soaking if I have to, but if I have a teammate already on it, why not play some off angles and make their lives easier, right? Continuing that trend, when my team hits the front of the hill, I decide to flank around the side, which helps us break. One thing I'm terrible at with subs is ratty plays, and that's definitely something I was actively working on during this rapid hit. For example, I try to be a rat here by holding the pool balcony while my team soaks in P2, and I think it was a good plan, but I think I moved over there too quickly, which caused them to spawn art instead, making me basically useless. Little things like timing and positioning are still things I need to work on, but whatever, a redemption dub on Vault is still a dub. Going into game 24, I got a bit of a brain teaser for you. Can you guess what event we were in the middle of during this game? I'll give you 3 guesses. Moving on to the actual gameplay, I didn't do much this game worth talking about. We got a pretty hearty lead in the beginning and never really slowed down. One quick thing I will point out is more me focusing on anchoring or holding off angles versus me just face smashing the hill for time. It's also funny because even by this point in February, I was already traumatized by how often people flip P2 spawns by going up driveway, so I always watched it from that point on. Anyways, nothing to see here, just a very average game on Hacienda. For the final SMG game of this rapid hit, we get something a little slower than what I was hoping for. A return to Protocol S&D. And just like game 21, it starts off pretty swell. I mean, choking an ace that was basically handed to me, and then also losing the round isn't exactly a great start, but from a gameplay perspective, I was feeling hot at least. The very next round, I'm stuck in a 1v3 situation and let my indecisiveness get the better of me. Had I just planted bomb from the beginning, I'd at least know where they'd be coming from, but instead I loiter around and eventually get spotted and killed. Round 4, and we get a partial repeat of round 1. Technically a 1v3, as in I get 3 kills with little to no teammate help, which feels a little bit like redemption for round 1. Side note, I also like the stupid little spin I do at the end here. I don't know why, it just made me laugh when I rewatched this. After that last round, I was feeling like the best plat player in the world, and I took that confidence into this round, including one of the most disrespectful kill attempts in my COD career. If I actually got that kill, I'm sure my ego would have exploded. Luckily, I'm sent back to Earth with these next 2 rounds, where I did absolutely nothing, but we still pulled out the win. And with that, all the sub games are done. I thought it would be a good idea to take a mini timeout and talk about these games in the bigger picture of this challenge. First off, I think tracking KD and win-loss for this is kind of futile. I'm still going to do it for the AR games though. But I mainly think it's useless because unless you're in an absolute blender, see game 22, you won't really have a negative KD thanks to EKIA. That being said, I'm not just going to sit on these stats and not use them, so here we go. I ended the subsection of this game with 19 positive games, 3 negative, and 3 neutral, with an overall win-loss of 14-11. Out of these games, 14 were hardpoint, 7 were S&D, and 4 were control. Of all 25 matches, my worst game was game 22, Vault hardpoint, where I ended with a loss and a 0.72 KD. On the other side, my best game was the final game, game 25, which was a Protocol S&D where I ended with a dub and a 2.25 KD. I 100% expected my worst game on the sub side to happen on Vault, as that map was a head glitches wet dream, but having my most successful game be not only on Protocol, another map with a lot of head glitches, but also in S&D, hands down my worst mode, was extremely surprising. Talking about the sub itself, I knew these games were going to be the easy ones because I'm naturally a sub player. I've learned in past games over the last decade and some change how to adapt to long sidelines and large maps with little traversal cover. Frankly, BO6 was probably the worst game I could have done this on, because not only is the Jackal extremely competent at long range, even in my hands, but the aims was much less of a takeover AR like the MCW or the Auto or the M4 from previous years. That, along with the freedom of movement that Black Ops 6 had, made this a pretty relaxing set of games and a reminder of how laziness truly ruins everything. So overall, I wasn't really surprised about these stats, but I was kind of happy to be reassured that I still kind of know how to shoot straight with a sub all these years later. Now, going into the AR games, one of the mini goals I had for this section of the video was to not only change my weapon, but also change my playstyle. As someone who naturally gravitated towards subs in the beginning of my COD career, I have a lot of habits that have been built up when I first started playing. So my thought process was that if I just did the rapid hit and changed nothing in my playstyle for the AR section, then this whole thing was even more of a waste of time than it already implied. I'll fully admit that I defaulted back to my usual self way more often than I would have liked during these next 25 games, especially during games where I was getting shit on, but hopefully little plays like this, i.e. focusing on breaking the anchor player and holding it myself for a little bit, show that I was at least trying to get into the mindset of an AR player. That's not to say that someone with the names couldn't be a hill bitch. That to me transcends roles, especially in ranked playlists. Moving on, we pull up to hill 4, where I get this frankly therapeutic kill off the same head glitch that I've been beamed off of for the last 3 months at that time, while also providing enough distraction for my team to break the hill. As we hit the second sets of hills, this game is basically tied up. So to help try and get rotations, I decide to find a rat angle to try and pick off the inevitable player going back statue, just for no one to go that way and for me to lose the only gunfight I needed to win. The rest of the map pretty much became a seesaw of they would rotate early and get half hill time, we would break and hold the rest, rinse and repeat, which of course led to the outcome that most would expect. Not the best start to the AR games, but at least I ended positive, right? For game 2, technically game 27, but I'm just going to be resetting the numbers because it's easier, we're back with another game of Vault S&D. And it started off, we had the fastest round of Vault S&D I've ever had. I know this map mode was always just 4-man face smashing a bomb, but not counting all the extra bits like spawning in or them defusing, this was an 11-second round of S&D. The next round wasn't much better, with me throwing myself at 2 enemies like I still had the Jackal in my hands. 3 rounds in, we finally get on the board. I used that round win confidence to score an insane ego chow that I honestly had no right to win. This potentially caused a domino effect. I'm mostly joking, but for some reason, after that fairly normal round, a player on the enemy team decides to rage quit. This leads to a pretty dominant next 2 rounds, including the second fastest S&D round I've ever experienced, probably. We do as a team get a little ahead of ourselves and choke 2 rounds, but the man/round advantage meant it was only a matter of time before they slipped up and handed us a dub. Back to hardpoint, this time on protocol, and 3 hills in, I am definitely feeling comfortable with the aims. I don't remember the general consensus on the aims when it comes to AR heads, but this and the MCW might be my favorite ones in the Warzone era. Speaking of feeling more comfortable with the aims, this was in my opinion another great example of my mindset change for this section. Seeing that my teammates had hill control, I took to trying to pick off people rotating from mid or breaking through the back doors instead of just being another body on the hill. And it was mostly successful. Obviously I didn't do it perfectly, and arguably I stayed upstairs way too long and didn't correctly predict where the enemy team was rotating to, but I personally think it was a good start. Hill control like that from my team and I eventually led us back to P1, where we popped off just a bit to win. After that last game, I'm feeling pretty good. My KD hasn't dropped below 1.4, and we've won 2 out of the last 3 games. So what do I get gifted? A control match against a 4 stack. And it goes exactly how you would expect. I'll admit I may deserve a red card for this clip, but to be slightly fair, I was fighting for my life out there. Of course it doesn't help that I had teammates that would rather forfeit and then team kill instead of trying to get the win, even if it was unlikely. I do get back at them slightly with this turn on though, and I promise this is the only time I'll ever brag about a team kill. In the end, even though I'm trying my best to get anything going, my team gave up in round 1, so it was all for nothing. Also, this is a bit of a side note, but shout out to Treyarch for making it a unanimous forfeit instead of just being like majority wins. Honestly, fucking great choice. Apparently the only S&D map in the game is Vault, because we are back on its sandy shores. Round 1 ends with a good reminder that you can never trust ranked teammates to do anything, even if you tell them exactly what's about to happen. Going into the next round, I have a pretty nice prediction here to get a kill. Basically, once I saw that we had no one mid, I knew one of them was just going to run straight down mid and flank, so I waited for them and actually got rewarded with the kill. And eventually, with no help from me, the round. A couple rounds later, we push into plan today, and I get potentially one of the craziest COD timings of all time. Like, I'm going to show this for my friend to show how insane this timing is. Either way, we're down 3 rounds at this point, and DJ Vaughn/Maddox gets a godly snipe to give us a 4v3. I swear I'm not the one doing this, but I'll admit it does look pretty bad since my last 2 S&Ds ended up just like this. Just like the last S&D, the extra manpower secured a game that even my teammates agreed we should not have won. Skyline hardpoint for game 6, and honestly I won't be showing much of this game. Mainly because we fucking demolished the competition. Starting off like seemingly every other time I played this map, we gained a pretty steady lead through the first 2 hills. It helped that seemingly no one on the other team realized this was a ranked match. Like I haven't seen that much single file pushing into a hardpoint since Subbies and Vanguard. These 2 hills gave us a nearly 100 point lead, and that momentum kept up for the majority of the game. Even if I was losing gunfights, my teammates weren't, and were also grabbing time. It was a dream come true. Fast forward to the end where I'm not even worrying about hopping on hill. Instead, I spend the last few moments patting my KD and picking off people around mid trying to rotate. I know I've said it a bunch already, but I really do just love Skyline Hardpoint, and I hope the rumors about it coming to Black Ops 7 are true. By the time my slow ass finishes this video, we'll know for sure. Back-to-back great maps, I'll take it. And similarly to that Skyline game, this was a pretty comfortable win. It wasn't a complete blowout like last game, at least I got 100 points, but about halfway through our team just took control and didn't let go. Something about the night I played these 2 matches I wish I could go back to. My team was locked in, I felt like I was mostly beaming. It was just a perfect storm for SR games. Game 8, however, feels like the exact opposite of the last 2. It starts off pretty strong, with me still trying to rewire my brain to not always insta-push hill, especially an anti-AIMS hill like this one. So I think some of my wires got crossed, because here's me just standing outside of the hill doing nothing. Like I know this is a mixy hill, so just jumping on it was potentially bad, but just standing there holding an angle is shit I would make fun of anyone else doing, and yet here I am doing it. That indecisiveness wasn't the only problem either. It looks like the rank card was finally starting to get to me, because I was so preoccupied with stopping any flanks that I missed the fact that 1, my team was literally top art, and B, the red dots on my minimap blatantly told me where they were coming from. I had some alright slaying moments this game, like the enemy team optic stacking for me and a nice little hill break, but I was honestly extra brainless this night. And for the cherry on top of this shit game, here's my ranked teammate making up a problem for why we lost.
Hey team, just so you know, you have to fucking rotate and like sit on the fucking point. You don't just sit on fucking nothing. Jesus fuck.
We returned to Hacienda for yet another hardpoint game, and by hill 4 we carved out a small lead. I channeled my inner Celium and wrapped my way into a free kill on a flanker. Eventually I realized I should probably help on the hill and hop in to secure an easy 2-piece. One set later I did exactly what that guy did, only successfully. As we reach the end of this game, I get one of the more insane broken double kills of my career. I honestly didn't even see the second one, and just 2 hills later after that we get the win. So, game 10 is kind of a special one. I've mentioned a couple times already, but for the month of February I was doing a special challenge for myself called Ranked February. I know, great name. Well, this was the last game of that challenge. How does that affect the gameplay or the rapid hit itself? Not much, but I will say that this is probably my best match in the entire rapid hit, so maybe it did more for me than I thought. Anyways, getting into this match, I have a pretty strong start over the course of the first sets of hills. Popping 2 pieces, wall bangs, and generally just making my way around the map. Even returning back to P2, I was winning gunfights that I probably shouldn't have. I was still trying to be that main AR power position enjoyer, but in the opportunities that I got to jump on the hill, it was like I had active camo. Finally, as we reach the end of this game, I get set up with the perfect clip to end the perfect game and choke it. Kind of a good way to send me back to earth after this game, because like I said, I was flying. Really fun game though. I feel like my gameplay and my rank were trending upwards during February, and I can't wait to finish this rapid hit in a timely manner, and maybe even hit diamond. Welcome to August 2025. Black Ops 7 comes out in 3 months, and I was still naive enough to think my lazy ass could finish this rapid hit before it released. But my return to the ranked mines started the exact opposite to how I left them. Off the break I get some easy kills, yet we end up getting almost no time off this hill. Now down by 40 points, I almost have an insane break into P2 before overheating and getting gunned. Back on P1, I get gifted a godly spawn and catch 2 enemies unaware. I feel like for my first time back playing ranked in a while, besides SOS, I wasn't as rusty as I thought I would be, and instead was just losing because the other team was better at holding irons. Of course, not to say it was perfect. Like for example, imagine missing one of the most obvious skins in the game running right past you. That would be crazy. We ended up predictably losing this game, but I gotta say, at the time, I felt like my little break from ranked really didn't affect me at all gameplay-wise, which was nice. For game 12, Joel decides to join me. Probably because I was quietly bitching about the last game in the Discord call, and we end up with a bit of a throwback. So for those who stopped playing Black Ops 6 during the offseason, post-Champs Treyarch was kinda going crazy with the map pool changes. We had the return of maps previously in the pool like Rewind and Dealership. We had DLC maps added and taken out over the span of a weekend. It really was chaos, and honestly not necessarily in a bad way. Now I'm not entirely sure if it was taken out of the ranked map pool, but either we somehow dodged it for 37 games, or it just got put back in. Either way, we landed on Rewind Hardpoint for the first time in this rapid hit. Jumping forward a couple hills, I am reminded instantly of the major frustrations with this map. After a couple tries, I finally kill the guy anchoring, and even get exactly 1 second of hill time before getting slammed. We're down around 50 points, and while we weren't doing too bad slaying wise, it already felt like this game was over. We managed to survive one more set of hill rotations, but just barely stopped the enemy team at 249. The rest of my team rotates as I get all the scrap time, and stop one last push for the last point. In a weird parallel to Champs, it all comes down to P2. I'm gonna be honest, I was so traumatized from the first half of these games, so as soon as we got control, I tunnel visioned on the flank to make sure no one would hit it, which basically had me chasing butterflies as my team locked down the point and pulled out the comeback. In a real duality of man situation, we go from the closest possible hardpoint map to a complete and total stomping. Spoilers. By hill 2, we were already up 30, but that's not the important part. Chat, was this snaking? I have to ask stupid questions like that because saying, I popped a 2 to 3 piece for the next minute would be only partially as bad as my usual commentary. I don't know what happened with the matchmaking in this game, but if we could only play people like this for the rest of the rapid hit, I would be forever grateful. The hardpoint streak ends in one of the worst ways, as we spawn into a Hacienda control for game 14. Wow, those are some really well-timed nades. I wonder... Oh yeah. In what I'm assuming is karmic punishment for the last game, we get a 4 stack. To be fair, I shouldn't go straight to dooming this early in the match. We do get the optic kit out of our base, and manage to hold on to B for a little bit, before losing it and eventually the round. Going into round 2, we get an extremely quick B cap, and a slower but still successful A cap to win the round. We then manage to win on defense and put ourselves up 2-1 against 4 stack. Coming to the business end of this potential last round, we make a final yet unsuccessful push to get any progress. Unfortunately, we don't, and we head into round 5. We start off extremely strong with life lead and a quick A capture. Unfortunately, however, we fall prey to the mindless pushing trap that usually happens with control. Mainly my fault, to be honest. And end up losing the game. Luckily, everyone on the other team was a good sport, and we had a nice chat about the game after it was all over.
Hey, when you
I did
boost
better than
teams
you,
against
so if
players-
I'm dog shit, then
no,
what does
when
that
you're
make
boosting,
you?
shut the fuck up, I'm talking, shut up. When you're boosting two
You're
shit
worse than
players,
me, so
that makes
if
you
I'm
more
dog
shit,
shit,
you
then I
fucking
don't know
boost
what the
up.
fuck
You are
that makes
fucking
you.
me. Shut up while I'm talking.
Why are you so mad, man? It sounds like you're getting out of
I said
breath.
stop talking.
Take a
Shut the
breath,
fuck up.
man.
Joel is gone for game 15, mainly because it was an unplanned trip into ranked, if I'm being honest. I believe this night we had just finished a couple hours of some other game, probably Destiny or Apex, and I hopped on COD because the looming threat of Black Ops 7 was still on my mind. And what better mode to jump into while ice cold? S&D. The first round ends in a 1v1, where I do the smart thing for once and just run around and buy time so they can't defuse, instead of ego challenge. A couple rounds later, I get caught with my pants down, alone on an island, but at least my team was able to clutch up. You know, my favorite part about S&D on Skyline is how much of a bang out it is. Unfortunately, it's pretty obvious this team disagrees with me. I get a pretty nice beam, but quickly get chopped down, leading my team to get better clips with their rapid hits while I spectate. Round 7, and I quickly turn a 2v1 into a 1v1. Please plant the fucking bomb. Okay. I lose the 1v1 and the round. On the cusp of an L, we string together a couple kills to secure a safety round, just to get bounced out of the match the very next round. I usually try to fight back if my ranked randos talk shit to me, even if it's just in a joking manner, but if any of my teammates try to talk shit to me at the end of this game, I would say nothing. I 100% threw this S&D game away. After that game, I hopped off real quick and returned a few days later with some backup. And somehow over the span of these last 25 games, we've doubled our time on Rewind Hardpoint. I start the game off basically doing nothing and getting shit on when I do try to fight back. I slightly recover over the course of this game with a mixy 2-piece on the shit spawns hill and a meticulous hill break to help keep our lead. However, due to some bad plays by me, we lose the lead, and despite our early rotations and solid hold in the beginning of the hill, the game. Game 17 starts with some team building.
How much did that one run you?
Bullying a teammate for spending money is technically bonding, right? But we probably should have been talking breakoffs and rotations because we were facing the final boss of anchoring this game. We eventually break through and get some kills and some time on P2 to push our narrow lead. But by P4 we begin to lose our lead, and while I attempted to break into the hill, they had it locked down. A couple of hills later we get a frankly bullshit spawn flip, and I know it's a BS spawn flip because they still spawn an enemy by me to lose control yet again. With our backs against the wall, we break P4 one more time to give us enough time to rotate back to P1, but we all get slammed and end up losing the game. Skyline hardpoint for game 18. We're currently on a 4-game win streak for this map mode combination, so can we make it 5? As you can see from that scoreline, yes we can. I really have nothing to show from this game because all I did was be a good little hill kitten while my team just rolled and smoked the enemy team. Listen, I'll take the free SR though, I don't care. For this next game, we have a world's first. Somehow. This entire year, due to map voting and to be fair, a lack of playing, I have barely played red card until now. This was my first S&D, but I only had 2 other games of hardpoint on this map throughout this year. I'm not saying map voting is bad or anything, but I do think it's genuinely mind-blowing I managed to essentially dodge a map for the entire year. Either way, getting into the actual match, I turned a 2v4 into a 2v2 pretty quickly, which then turned into a 1v1 that I actually managed to clutch up. Not often I start off an S&D this strong. Luckily, I take all that momentum and throw it out the window. The next few rounds turn into a treadmill, me getting constantly first-blooded. Thankfully, my team carries me to a 4-1 scoreline, but I'm not being hyperbolic when I say I was the deadest of weights for most of this game. Even when I managed to stay alive longer than 30 seconds into a round, I still throw, making the cardinal sin of S&D by not chicken bomb and getting ninja diffused. By the end of this game, even my team was sick of me. Going into the potential final round, I get caught in a 1v3 situation. I managed to bring it down to a 1v2 while going on a tour of the map waiting for bomb to go down. They plant B yet again, and I make my way to bomb. I make a pretty dumb attempt to kill this guy head glitching and ego challenge assuming the other player was farther away. They were not, which leads to one of the craziest turn-ons of my career for the win. I was so hyped I guarantee I woke up my entire neighborhood by screaming shit on at 3 AM. You think it would have been smart to end the night on a win like that, but I kept going. And I'm not gonna lie, I was W king fucking everything. The other team smelt my fake confidence a mile away, however, and knocked me down a few pegs early in this hardpoint. Unfortunately for them, my team, and specifically Nutter, was seemingly having the game of his life. I'm over here having movie-length gunfights and barely winning them, while he's just, slaying out the entire game. I do slightly contribute to this game, with a pretty easy hill break with my team, but by the end I was doing more for the enemies than my team. Listen, someone had to take out that raid boss. In the post-victory section, Nutter comes clean and explains why he popped off so hard, and an enemy player hits back with a goddamn truth nuke.
Real talk, when gamers that are doing so good in Crimson and restart on a new account can go fuck themselves, because that is wild shit right there. I
100% agree with him. Don't smurf kids, even if a Russian hacked your normal account. So here we are in the last 5 games. Joel's back and we return to the fresh hell that is raid control. We started off strong defending B and eventually winning round 1, but in typical Hacienda control fashion, oops all defense took us to round 5. We hit the ground running, getting almost 2 ticks on B before getting shut down. On our second push, we were much more successful. Unfortunately, the death trap that was A became more and more unwinnable as we kept throwing lives into the meat grinder, eventually leading to the expected outcome. S&D on Skyline is up next. We're currently 0-2 in the Rapid on Skyline S&D. Can I rebound? Probably not. I will say though, round 1 ends pretty positively. We get a sync shot first blood and eventually win the round. A little later, I show him allergic to cover and get myself instantly blooded with an extremely stupid play. Luckily, Joel clutches up the 1v3 that our team left him in, so I feel, slightly less bad. I show some monkey brain levels of learning from my mistakes by actually using cover, just to get smoked in the exact same place anyways. 1v2 situation, I plant the bomb for once, even though it's arguably in the worst place to plant as an AR, and lose the ego chop for the round loss. At this point, we're down 2-5, the vibes are in the gutter, the minimap's broken, the government hates us, the animals are leaving, it's arguably chalked. We end up getting a pity round thanks to some early picks and a total lockdown today. The very next round, Joel clutches up another 1v1 to get us one step closer to doing the funniest thing ever. And by the way, if you're wondering why he's crouch walking, it's because during these games, a patch came out that broke Ninja. Going into round 10, I get 2 kills around A-bomb, but get stuck in a corner and taken out, eventually leading to us losing the round to end the game. I really want to like Skyline S&D because I love hardpoint so much, but I think it just hates me. Back on Hacienda control for game 23, and that lineup of lag notifications indicates how good this game is about to be. I don't usually like to make excuses based on lag because I know my shot is ass even on 20 ping, but I contributed absolutely fucking nothing to this game. Between me being in the blender and my ranked teammates' weak mental, skipping this game is the only thing I can do. Just for a little taste, here's me getting spawn killed. This is one of those games I expected to have like 10 games into the rapid hit, not as a third to last. Either way, get me the fuck out of Hacienda control. The penultimate game takes us to dealership S&D. Round 1 starts off with a final kill very in line with dealership. As we venture further into the S&D, we're up 2-0 with a pretty solid team. I get my favorite type of kill on the map, and get a minor Ghost Recon sync kill to increase our lead. Heading into round 5, I decide it's time for my second RCXD joyride, while my body gets killed in the background. I may have done nothing this round besides just leaving bomb on our spawn, but driving the RC around was fun I guess. We're up 5-0 when a kerfuffle at A leaves me in a 1v4. A 1v4 I lose of course. Surely no full cell, right? Yeah, no full cell. We cleanly take the final round and win our second to last game. We also get some nice lobby lore. Either these guys have been playing together / against each other before, or this guy finally lost it 7 months into the game's life cycle. We finally made it, over a year plus later, to the final game of the rapid hit. We get the same duo from last game, and right off the bat we get 2 kills to help secure the first round. A second 1v4 failed attempt ties up the game. The video did not glitch out and repeat. You are in fact witnessing a breakoff that is almost identical to the first round, although it didn't end the same. Round 4 begins with an A-bomb hit and a completely BS kill. Eventually, after a very mixy bomb defense, it ends in a 1v1 in our favor. Fast forwarding past some very dominant yet boring from my POV rounds, we're up 5-2 in a 3v1. With bomb down on one of the harder bombs to attack, this predictably ends with the poor enemy player walking into me and Joel holding irons, and me to get a final kill to finally win the last match of a rapid hit. And while I sit back and enjoy being done with this year-long, due to my laziness project, I get one last taste of the fantastic player base that is COD Ranked. And that finishes up the AR games, and the rapid hit, but we'll get to that conclusion later. And just like the 25 sub games, let's talk stats. I ended this section with 18 positive games, 5 negative, and 2 neutral, with an overall win-loss of 14 and 11, again. Somehow I had the same split in game modes as the subsection, with 14 matches of hardpoint played, 7 of S&D, and 4 of control. I would ask what the odds of that were, but I'm way more surprised that over half the matches of this rapid hit were hardpoints. Like maybe I'm just falling for the Reddit propaganda, but during this year, it really did feel like we were constantly getting ping-pong between S&D and control. Talking about the best and worst games next, out of these 25 games, my worst game was a disgustingly bad 0.25 KD on Hacienda Control, game 23. And my best game was a 2.82 KD on Vault Hardpoint, game 10. The final results for these games are slightly more surprising for me, mainly in the positive to negative KD part. I was obviously biased, but before I started this, I thought it would be easy to keep a positive KD as an AR, since all I really had to do if we were ever in a rough match is just slow down and hold irons more. But I proved that either I'm mostly incapable of that AR lifestyle, or there's more to that role than I give it credit for. Who'd thunk? When I really locked in and tried to play more like how I think an AR plays, i.e. staying off hill to hold power positions, I feel like I played my best games, but I think flexing could be for me in the future. Though with how much movement is required in Black Ops 7, this might best be saved for Modern Warfare 4. And now onto the real conclusion. Due to the nature of COD and ranked queuing in general, this is going to be a rapid hit subject that I will 100% be returning to in future titles, especially because at least for BO6, this kind of doesn't apply. Maybe I'm about to say like a plat level take here, but I feel like both weapons this year fit their niches really well. Like sure, 10 in every 100 people, at least at gold plat level, will gun you across the map with a jackal consistently, but not only is that an outlier, but everybody's using every other goddamn sub besides a competitive one in rank, so does it really matter? More importantly though, it's time to answer the question that I set up at the beginning of this rapid hit. Do roles really matter in ranked play COD? At the level I play at, not entirely. I hate to bring up Modern Warfare 23 again, but it's 100% the reason I got the idea in my head to do this in the first place. Because during that game's lifecycle, I never really got comfortable with the Rival 9, and because of my subpar gameplay and the map pool being weighted towards AR maps, I was single-handedly losing its games. I'm talking going 2-20 on a sub-based hardpoint, or barely scraping 10 non-EKI kills out of a 5-round control on high-rise. It was really bad, and for the first 2-ish months of ranked release, I was completely unwilling to even humor the idea of pulling out an MCW. Then Joel got a crippling New World addiction, so I started solo queuing most nights, and I think that's where I started to give up and pull out the MCW. And from those games, I actually started to gain SR, going from around Silver 3 to Gold 3 over the span of a month. So seeing those great gains and still gunning for plat, I was ready on Black Ops 6 to pull out whatever was necessary to win. But besides Vault and Red Card, the 3 total times I played it, I never really felt like I was a detriment to my team, specifically because I was using the Jackal. So I think roles matter at the highest level and in games that are much more tailored to either the sub/AR, but if you get a game like Black Ops 6, or seemingly at least early on Black Ops 7, then I'm just going to use whatever helps me shoot the straightest. And for the record, no, your silver teammates are never correct when they tell you to switch weapons. I'm hoping to give this rapid hit subject a real test in 2027 when Ranked is back in IW's next potential travesty of a game. I cannot wait to play 50 matches of Control on the map offspring of Euphrates Bridge and San Ysidro border crossing, with no red dots and no dead silence. Oh, it's going to be so much fun. Anyways though, that was finally a rapid hit, and this was your Punk Quiz from Heavy One Bound, signing out. I will see you guys next time.